everybody. This is Deanna Minnick. Welcome to the Detox Summit. Today, we have a very special guest. Her name is Rainbeau Mars. And you probably have seen Rainbeau somewhere in the media. She is a very talented actor, health, fitness, and beauty expert, and she's sought out by actors, models, and business moguls. She has a new book, and it's called The 21-Day Superstar Cleanse, which has come out by this time. Since we're here in the summer, it was released in the spring. So that's why I'm having Rainbeau as part of this Detox Summit to talk about her Superstar Cleanse and also to tell us a little bit about her journey through health and where she's at now in her life and really bringing the message of health and wellness to all of us. And so thank you, Rainbeau, for being part of the Detox Summit. Welcome.
Thank you, Deanna, for having me. It's my privilege to be with you in this moment.
Well, thank you. And, I think, Rainbeau, you have such a very intriguing, interesting story, a personal story. And what I'm asking all of the speakers as part of the Detox Summit to do is to share with us a little bit about you. Who are you and why do you have some interest in this whole topic of toxicity? So perhaps you can tell us a bit about your life and you.
Sure. Well, it's funny when you said, in her journey through health, I was literally going, is she saying hell? The reality is that we are all born, at least in this space and time, on a planet that is full of a lot of toxicities, mental, emotional, and spiritual. We are in the Kali Yoga age, which I'm only now understanding. But I was raised, yes, I was born in a teepee under a double rainbow in a bit of a commune type of situation. My mom had already planned to name me Rainbow before I was born. And then even after questioning it, decided, and it was in the Ozarks of Missouri, so it's very rare to see rainbows there. So when she saw the rainbow, she was like, it's a sign from the universe. I was raised with a lot of the information about, I think that's necessary when we are talking about the walking or even walking the walking, that we know the direction to head. So being very connected with the earth. My mom used to give me, $1 or maybe $3 if I knew the name of a plant, its edible uses, what medicinal properties it had, and if I knew its Latin name. So that's how I'd make extra pocket money before I had to go out, as a young teenager. And I think that there was a lot of rights in that movement, getting back to the land, which I think this is not new age wisdom. This is old age wisdom. The natives and all of the indigenous tribes know how to be connected to the earth originally. And even we do in Europe, they all have homeopathic stores and they all are giving herbs and natural medicine. Traditionally, you knew that someone had money if they were able to mow their lawn, because it means that they could afford an outside doctor to bring in the medicine. So I was raised with all of those medicines. My godmother being an Ayurvedic yoga teacher, I realized I was learning a lot of the spiritual or sort of philosophical aspects of yoga when I lived with her in Hawaii. Things like, if you don't like something about someone else, then it's something you don't like about yourself. So there was a lot of seeds that were planted. Nevertheless, and just going back to that word of hell, I had the same issues that we all do. My parents were both very busy, and they were, I think my stepfather at least, was attempting the free love movement. So I can't say I was the most secure or connected little being. I had, and, was looking for love or maybe even a validation in all the wrong places through sort of, my mom was busy. She's written 20 books on natural medicine, and I'm really proud of who she is. And she was my hero in many ways. But when I go back to the reality of my life, I experimented with many drugs. I didn't always have the most self-worth now that I'm looking back. And what I did was, when I came to Hollywood after doing my first movie at 17 and was really in the midst of all the chaos and it kind of all came to a head, there was one way to rectify. And this has been a long journey, but started with yoga, it started with chanting, it started with learning how to make food for myself. I realized that when all my friends who were actors didn't know what to do for a bladder infection or a yeast infection or skin issue, I was like, you don't know what to do? And I was actually very surprised that people didn't know these basic folklore type of remedies and that I was raised around. So I would share with my friends. And as I got really into yoga, the only reason, I loved what it brought to my skills as an actor, kind of really going in rather than out. And I found a place in myself that I had never found before. And it took me through many things. I remember I was a coffee addict, working out late at night at midnight, preparing for the next audition where I'd have to like be in a bathing suit in front of a room of strangers, very lost and confused. And I was like, oh my God, I have to be in this body for my lifetime, after I was like shaking from caffeine at midnight. And, I slowly but surely, life kept bringing me, I think, in towards a better direction. Woody Harrelson was one of those people who inspired yoga and live foods. I thought that because I knew enough about health that I didn't need to like take it to the level he was, but eventually I ended up doing so. And so to sort of summarize this journey, I would say that because of necessity, people think, oh, I could never be as flexible as you, but I started out going to yoga, like, even though I knew the philosophy of it, I mean, I was physically very tight from having abused myself with chemicals and yo-yo dieting and whatever else, who knows, cigarettes and too much pizza and I don't know, donuts and ice cream at night. And I was in the back of the room with a hood on and sweatsuits, like trying to hide, but I could still feel the benefits of the practice. I took my first teacher training only because I wanted to know more about it. And I was the one person in the room that said, I don't want to teach. I love acting, but I want to know more about this. And I did find myself as interested in those books as I was acting. And I served at the yoga studios. I swept the floors. I cleaned the toilets. I really was looking to love myself separate from how I would look. And I know that, youth and beauty is not permanent. And I wanted to get that. So yeah, I just basically, and then, later came the live foods and the detoxifications from a very healthy level. And I'm just so grateful I found what I finally found. And I would say that pain is inevitable, but suffering is not. And slowly but surely, and there's much more to that journey, but I'm truly happy. And the foods that I have found and the journey that I've been on is so amazing. And it's not just for me. Everyone has it. We just have to not just apply it, but I guess study as well, because I did spend a lot of time learning about it because of my own needs to save my own soul and self.
Mhm. Wow, what an incredible journey you've been on. And I really appreciate the fact that you're sharing your vulnerability with us and just kind of letting us know that things weren't always so easy, that, you kind of had to find your own way. So I'm just wondering, based on what you've been through, and you've been in films, you're definitely a fitness expert, a beauty expert, and you become expert in many different things, and really coming from humble origins and really finding your way there. And I'm just wondering, for the listener, how do they find their way amidst all of the chaos of information that we have in the health world? There are so many books that are out there about what people should do. And what I'm hearing you say is that there's something about the inner world that people need to listen to. Do you think that people can find that through different means like yoga or meditation, or, how do people really tap into finding their own way like you did?
Well, yeah, I mean, meditation for a novice, I think is very challenging. I think that stillness comes through moving through the distraction and the agitation. I do feel that getting on the mat, just doing yoga like for 30 minutes a day, even 10 minutes a day, to see what you're up against is a really great way to start, because you'll realize you'll realize, just like if you're in a relationship with yourself and you think everything is great and you're on your own, you're on your own time schedule, and the second time you get into a relationship, you're like, oh my God, this is what is inside of me, these buttons are pushed, these feelings come up. Getting on the mat can also help arise those same things. That's, I think, step one. There's in the 8 limbs of Ashtanga yoga, which is a hatha yoga, there's the personal ethics, there's the social ethics. These mean things like non-stealing, non-harm, or inner cleanliness. There's all of those things, but we start in the middle, which is asana. And you get on the mat, you do a down dog or two, maybe 100, eventually you do thousands of them with sun salutations, and you just breathe into your body. And what you're able to find is, what are all these dead spots on my body doing? And you're just, you're more likely, you're breathing fresh oxygen, you're bringing life force into your system, you're you're slowly but surely kind of like bringing WD-40 into an old rusty door. The breath and movement brings that into the body. And then instead of like finishing that and drinking coffee and donuts, you're like, oh, I want a fresh squeezed juice, or I want a salad because you work so hard. So I mean, there's many types of things like martial arts or dancing or hiking or working out. People are in a CrossFit. I mean, I'm not going to say that there's not benefits to all of those things. I've tried many different types of workouts, but I do find that yoga is like working in, and I would try to encourage anyone to incorporate it to some aspect of their lifestyle to connect with what their body needs. I hear all the time people say, but I don't even know what I'm craving. I don't know what I want to eat. And I would say that that means that you're not in yourself. So where you need to direct your focus is there's two pathways to that. And that's practicing. When you do, for instance, a practice every day, you are able to see how the foods that you're eating, the thoughts that you're thinking, how much you're sleeping affects you, because you have an immediate thing to bump up against. I have not been practicing yoga as much lately. I have it very fundamentally in my system. But for instance, yesterday I was on a set of this show in the Laurel Canyon, and I was there to do yoga, and my handstands were so fluid just because I had rebooted myself by the second way I would tell you, which was my cleanse. I just finished my 21-day superstar cleanse. So also, when you don't know what to eat, sometimes we're so conditioned by what we're craving. And David Wolf, my friend, says it's literally when you're craving donuts or pizza or things that might not be the best for us, it's because it's literally in our intestines. So you're going to crave the things that often we're allergic to. So in order to kind of reboot or restart, give yourself a fresh start, you can do a cleanse, not by starving yourself, but by not eating the foods that are really addictive and harmful for a 21-day period. And then that's also a really good way to reconnect, know who you are, and then go from there, act from a place of internal connection. But I think we all need to do that regularly. I mean, eventually we do it every minute, every hour. I mean, that's what I'm trying to do. But like, if nothing else, do it every season. Come back, and keep coming back.
Right. And the idea of doing a 21-day cleanse, like you're saying, it's kind of this reset button, right? And then what you're hoping is that you don't retox and get back into that state of losing connection with the body and, gravitating towards cravings that aren't necessarily healthful. So how do you stay in the zone? If you do a 21-day cleanse, like your book talks about, have you seen that people really regain their sense of energy, their sense of self, to the point that they just continue to stick with this even after 21 days?
Yeah, I mean, well, it takes 21 days to make or break a pattern. Let's start with breaking first and then making. So, and that's with any rehabilitation program. As far as sticking with it, I'm not going to lie. People go in every direction. You eat really great for 21 days, cleanse yourself out, and then, you feel like, okay, I can have a piece of cake, it's not going to necessarily kill you. Your body's so flooded with enzymes. My husband, who is so the opposite. He's a business manager, and he's the world of very high, a lot of stress, a lot of stakes. And he's done the cleanse now like 6 times, and he had lost about 22 pounds. I think he sticks to it around 18. So that just shows the structure in which you can, stay with it and maintain. But when he's not on the cleanse, he's going to have a piece of pizza. And I want to invite people to, I think there's an addiction to over rigidity and over judgment. Right now, I feel so good because I just did this cleanse that I had some, it seems awful, but silly and almost too hard. But I'm going to be honest, I've been doing a lot of live blended foods because I did like an Oscar party that I was hosting. And I have a really big photo shoot coming up. And I ate some grains the other night, which I often do eat a lot of grains, but even that, which is in the cleanse, that's the beginner's version or the week one. And I just felt so much more tired and immediately brought down from this high that I've been in, high in a way of not synthetic, but just a lot of energy, needing less sleep, my skin feeling great, my body feeling more open, more flexible, and just feeling more like confident in my body. And then just to answer your question, then when I went down, I was like, okay, that's interesting, but why not feel this way all the time? So you're going to be able to take it both ways. It will allow you to have a little more indulgences without feeling guilty. And yes, the more times you do it, the more layers that you get to, the more you're like, eventually you might say, just feels better to stay this way all the time. So, but what I think is the hardest for people is to think, oh my God, I have to change my life forever. And that just, then they never do it. So I would just say do 21 days and just see what happens and commit to that, commit to the 3 weeks. And then you can go back to whatever you're doing. And hopefully most people do start incorporating all the healthy recipes a lot more into whatever they're already doing. So that's a win.
Yeah, definitely. Especially since people usually eat the same foods every day. So if you're exposing them to new foods, new ideas about food, that may take hold. So, Rainbow, do you
Yes.
think that there are certain foods that we should not be eating just in general? There's a lot of talk lately about gluten and, like you just mentioned, even about grains. And do you subscribe to a certain quote unquote diet? Is there one right way that people should be eating, or do you think that eating should be personalized to the person?
Yeah, I mean, you definitely, everyone seems to have their own customization plan. They have different allergies. There's people that are even allergic to salad, fiber, which is, rare, but it does happen. So I would never say everyone needs to eat the same thing forever. But I would say that for everyone, it is healthy to do a cleanse. Even if you eat, all organic and pretty healthy, we live in a world of so many chemicals, toxins in the water, in the air, the thoughts that we're thinking, that it is important to take a break and let your organs, let go. The way that the detoxification happens is when you finally clean your colon out, which is the difference between being sort of coagulated by often cheese and gluten. Think of gluten as glue. Along with other chemicals. Let's say you eat healthy, but you have a little bit of chemical gum, you have a little bit of soda, you have a little bit of cheese and bread, and this stuff starts to harden in your colon, and then you're not absorbing the vitamins, the minerals, even the fats that your body needs to thrive, your brain needs to function. So by clearing that stuff out, eating a lot of sort of broom like the fibers of fresh produce, the way that nature intends it from a tree, a nut, or a bush, will clean that colon out, and then the organs get to dump whatever they've been having a hard time working on, because your immune system is triggered immediately when you're eating even cooked food, much less deeply fried oils. I would say that's maybe one of the more harmful of any of the foods is deep fried oils. Usually they don't clean those oils in those French fry vats, and although yummy and crispy, for me, I just feel awful, and I usually break out when I eat it. So I'd be careful with that. So anyway, then the organs dump, then the blood system dumps all the way to the lymph nodes, and I don't care how much we think we're saving money when we're eating a McDonald's, you're going to lose a lot more if all of a sudden you have colon or lymph node cancer. It's so devastating, the amount of toxins, diseases, cholesterol issues, heart disease, heart attacks, cancers that I think not only affects ourselves, but a lot of the people that we love. And when that happens to you or anyone in your family, you're going to give up everything to get your health back, your house, your car, your insurance plan. So, really to sustain and do preventative medicine daily and to eat the best that you can is really important. And I just want to add that the most important thing, though, is the thoughts that we're thinking and practicing virtuous living. The teacher, Jesus Christ, had said it's not important what goes out of your mouth or what goes into your mouth, but what goes out of it. So it is, they are connected. I mean, when I'm eating really bad, I tend to be more grumpy. So contemplate that. However, if you are going to eat some food that's what you would call more indulgent, definitely think of it as have loving thoughts, have just enjoy it. Don't judge it. Don't judge yourself. Try not to judge others. The practicing virtue like love, compassion, charity, discipline, diligence, intelligence, and chastity, all of these things, practicing virtues, are a way to really also serve in the world. The Dalai Lama eats meat to sustain himself. Some people eat meat, and I even would eat it if I was really sick. I try to choose organic or know how that animal was being treated. I think we should pay attention to factory farming. But in a nutshell, well, that's a big nutshell. I would say do the best that you can to take care of yourself and the planet. If we did all eat the paleo diet, as much as that might have helped people, because it is true that some grains, especially if they're highly refined, have a lot of yeast and mold in it, and that's an issue for people. So unless you've really cleaned out your system, people can be sensitive to especially refined grains. So but on that thought, the paleo diet, we would not sustain ourselves as a planet in relationship with the animals if we all ate that diet. And it is harder on the organ system, and there's communication about just how our bodies are designed to truly function. We tend to be more like a gorilla, or even an ape. A gorilla, they eat leaves. Giraffes and elephants and hippopotamuses, they're all very strong animals. They have teeth more like us. They've got a colon the length of ours. They eat leaves and grass. The only animals that really eat meat have, like a cat has a 3 foot long colon and fangs and hydrochloric acid in their belly that is way, way, way more than a human. So, it has sustained us, and it has allowed us to migrate places that we can't forage for food underground. And if you need it and your body is not getting enough iron or vitamin B12s or different, animal mass protein, then do it to sustain yourself. But think of food as medicine, and everything that we're putting in the body should have a purpose rather than just to salivate our taste buds. And I would also be careful of bottom feeders and pigs, and which tend to be a more and more commercialized food. But I think that they're not necessarily. We are what we eat. So try to eat foods that are evolving, that are peaceful, that are happy, that are kind, and that are gonna nourish your system, which often a plant-based diet does. So
Wow. Well, I love everything that you said there because, you're not so doctrinaire about a certain diet. It's more about listening to the body, where you're at, eating on purpose. And one of the things that you brought up was talking about the planet. And I'm wondering what your philosophical view is on this because I can tell that you've thought very deeply through a lot of these different issues. And that is the planet becoming so much more toxic because we as humans living on the planet are becoming a little bit more, I would say, probably not as discretionary in our decisions about certain foods or how we're living our lives? In other words, are we as an individual a reflection of the whole and what is happening on the planet? And subsequent to that, do you think that by changing our lives that eventually we change the planet? And is that where we need to go in the 21st century?
wow, that's like, I'm gonna cry with your question. I feel so much arise with that because I love our earth so much, and I think that we all do. And it's like, you look at, everyone cannot deny the awe that we feel when we see a sunset or the ocean or the trees. And there's nothing more beautiful when we want to align with beauty. Go in nature, go on a nature hike, and just you kind of feel the symmetry all around you, and your very atoms, cells, and molecules that make up your body can osmosisize with that, if that's a word, and kind of connect with what is beauty. And it's just the purity of being, as nature does. My friend James Cameron says, if we're not part of the solution, we're part of the problem. And as an environmentalist, there's really only one thing that we can do, and that is, vote with our dollar, and what you're putting in your mouth and what you're choosing to consume and do on a daily basis. Growing your own herbs, growing a garden, creating the garden back on earth as Eden. This is how we could actually change the planet, to create more oxygen in the environment. James also is talking to environmentalists, saying, you love the earth, well, why not follow my lead and not eat the fish? Which is like, so many people think, oh, I'm going to eat meat, but I'm just a pescatarian. I'm a vegetarian, but I still eat fish. And I also love the taste of fish. I grew up in Hawaii part of my life, and oh God, it's so sad what we've done to our waters, the levels of radiation, mercury poisoning that our ocean has, and that the fish are having to experience, and we also are having to experience. So, you know, I don't know. The root is ourself. It's always ourself. We cannot change the world, as heartbreaking as it can be to see the pollution and the toxins and the big waste vats of trash in our ocean. But we can make a difference in ourselves, and even craving foods that are more harmonious, supporting organic farmers, supporting environmental companies that are giving back to our earth. My ex boyfriend, the owner of Guayaquil, they're planting, they're reforesting in Paraguay. in South America, I've literally seen a lot of the rainforest that's been burned down to grow cattle, which the cattle can only graze on that area for like 5 years because before it becomes a desert. And then you can grow soy for about 10, and then same thing. So it's just not sustainable for us to be eating in that way. Nature has given us the fruits. I bought a little house right in the center of LA, and I now live also in Beverly Hills, but it's our office right now. And I grew 2 avocado trees that are harvesting, a whole little herb garden. We've got a passion fruit tree, a cherimoya tree, figs. And that's just a little start. Like, put trees in your front yard and watch and water the roots, just like you would, your yoga practice, like your kid, like your business, whatever we focus on expands. Water the fruits of the earth and our trees and our plants. And we would change our planet if we all did that. And I don't want to focus too much on the harms of Monsanto and Syngenta and GMOs and chemical warfare, basically. But it is a big problem. I mean, I was just in Kauai a few months ago, and I just want to raise this really quickly. And I have always thought of the islands as, the place of purification and kind of healing. And I'm so grateful that it still is one of the more pristine places. But Molokai, the island I grew up on, Monsanto, I guess, has rooted itself down, and there's no more jobs on Molokai except for to work for Monsanto, which does GMO, and a lot of chemical testing where they're finding the kids are being born with deformities and sicknesses and cancers. And that's even happening on Kauai, which is on the other side where people don't necessarily see the south side. And, it's big $1 billion corporations. How do you fight against that? I guess stop buying it. That's the only thing we can do. And even if you're just so anyway, it's a really big discussion, but if you care about the earth, you are absolutely you're gonna care about what you put in your mouth. And that's actually all that we can do. And people think, well, how am I going to make a difference? Well, there's 7 billion people on the planet. Even if half of us, even if a quarter of us cared, even if we didn't eat meat every Monday, like meatless Mondays, or, that would quantumly make a difference on what we're consuming. Maybe they would start investing in organic farming, Monsanto, Syngenta. I haven't thought enough about truly what they would do with them, how they would make other money, because that there's always going to be the corporate dollar is sort of guiding a lot of businessmen. But we have the most powerful vote that we have is what we buy. So yeah.
Yeah, very well said, Rainbow. And, I was thinking as you were talking about this, how does the average person know what they're buying? Because when you're in a store, everything looks pretty, everything looks enticing, intriguing, the packaging is glitzy. So, how do we know if we're actually buying something that's connected to Monsanto? How do we know? Everything behind food. And I think it's like a whole study in and of itself. So are there just
Yeah.
smaller tips that you can recommend? Do we just stick to fruits and vegetables? Is that enough? Or do we have to know a little bit more about where those fruits and vegetables are grown?
I do think that even though people say, oh, organic is more expensive, I mean, there's a reason. There's less chemicals and GMO in the actual seeds, so they're more vulnerable. The more that we invest and support those growers, or even go to farmers markets, that's usually the cheapest way to go, the more that will be happening. We do not want organic farmers to go out of business. Like that's a travesty. So basically all commercially grown soy and wheat, gluten, corn at this point is genetically modified in this country. Even in Europe, even though Europe has tried to ban GMOs, if they have packages with those things, it's probably in there. And yes, to study. I mean, you could spend a lot of time almost getting shocked at what is not only is in the food that we're eating, but the amount of chemicals that are being sprayed on those foods. Coffee is one of the most highly sprayed crops. But invest and educate yourself on why organic. I mean, you're going to get more content of vitamins and minerals. You're going to feel good about what feeding your family with those foods. And if you think of it being more expensive, if you eat less meat and cheese or things that are like jarred and super gourmet, it's going to be you're going to save a lot of money. If you do eat rice, choose to eat organic, choose the heirlooms like black rice, red rice, green rice, really choose things in their whole forms. look at packages, try to recognize. If you don't recognize what's in the ingredients, then, be wary of it. My daughter had some juices that are at the house recently, and that the nanny had bought, and it's like, it said organic. So you also have to be careful of that. And but there was caffeine in it, carbonation. And I was like, so she just hadn't looked at the label. So we can all make those mistakes. And carbonation, for instance, I love sodas. But carbonation is something that our bodies are trying to get out. So it's basically an education. And just to your point about the attraction of how things look, our eyes are in front of us so that we can see the colors of foods, and we're actually supposed to be attracted to colors and shapes and sizes, and that's literally our brain consciousness to tell us what we need and what will be good for us. A doctrine of signatures, I talk about it in my book, and it's something that my mom has taught me for years, but it basically states that whatever a food looks like in nature is what it's good for. Like cauliflower really is good for the brain. Strawberry seeds are actually good for the heart. Figs are really good for the ovaries, and so are passion fruits. So anyway, you can go on with really looking at, and you can look at something and go, oh wow, I wonder, a garlic is really good for your bronchioles. Your green leaves are really good for your bronchioles too, and it looks like the bronchioles of your lungs. But anyway, we are attracted to colors so that it teaches us what we should eat. And now that they've used artificial dyes and artificial, flavors, we're attracted to those things, thinking that they're going to give us the beta carotene or the bioflavonoids that our system is craving, but it's false. It's a beautiful lie. It looks pretty,
Mhm.
but do be aware and realize you are being tricked, just like a very beautiful woman that underneath is going to take off her mask and be like, the wicked old witch in Snow White. So be wary and pay attention, and just go to your heart and don't believe in the lie. Part of this, the process of us really saving ourselves and saving the planet, is taking the blue pill. It may be blue or red. David Wolf and I were together yesterday, but take the pill to wake up and to really see the planet for what it is. And, we think sometimes we want to be asleep and we don't want to know, but that is the living hell that unfortunately we've created in many ways. But we do have the option to awaken as a planet. I follow an amazing spiritual teacher, Juan Ruiz, and he talks about how the destiny of mankind is to be enlightened, and that this sort of information is coming from the future, and your choice, my choice, our choice is to awaken. And it's so much sweeter to live in a place of connection and health and harmony. And the cells that are created, with cancers or this disease, is just cells that are not in harmony. And so if we want to live in a state of harmony, think harmoniously, be present, we will eat and think and act and purchase things that are going to create harmony in our lives.
What a call to action. This is very inspirational, I can imagine, for many of the listeners to be thinking that they can actually change their lives, which will ripple through and change the planet, and that we all have this mission. That's even why we're doing the Detox Summit, is to raise that visibility, to raise the bar. So, Rainbow, thank you so much for everything that you just said there. I think it's very profound. You gave us so many easy opportunities to start to make changes in our everyday life. I wanted to cover just some more practical things too, because you do have such great pearls of insight. And one of them, I'm sure that you cover this in your book, but I'm wondering if you can share with us your favorite smoothie recipe. Are smoothies good for detox? Is that something we should be doing? It sounds like, you do like fresh juices. And if it is there something that we should be putting into our smoothie?
Yeah, well, we often are lacking hydration. And so even myself, like I love flavored, I'm drinking right now orange patterned water and red patterned water. And it's a way for me to get a little bit of beet powder and a little bit of Celtic salt. And there's a little bit of gold powder in what I'm drinking, Ormus Gold, to revitalize my system and also hydrate my system. Often we're lacking minerals. So you could even add, I know my friend David Wolf, he adds Celtic salt, which I do occasionally add a little pinch of salt in my smoothies or in my water even. But it is important to occasionally blend your foods, drink enough juices so that your body can really be cleansed. It's raining right now in California, and this is the way that the system cleans out whatever is been kind of stuck to the cell walls. And this is a way that our blood will move more freely and carry oxygen to more of our organs and our muscles and help us become more awake and alkaline and open. So my favorite smoothies, the easiest one is like coconut. Coconut's good for the brain, high in minerals, really hydrating. So not everyone has access to coconuts, but I would say go if you live anywhere near a Thai market or any place where they do coconut curries, you can often buy a case of coconuts from them for pretty affordably if you can't find it in your health food store. It's more expensive in your health food store. Cut open a coconut, put the flesh, the water in with a little vanilla powder, Celtic salt, and coconut oil, and you have something so delicious. With less water, you can make it pudding, but with more, it's like a shake, a coconut shake. I'm a big fan of chocolate. It has helped me get off of caffeine in many ways. So I like to do cacao with, you can just add water, you can add a handful of almonds, some cinnamon. I like a little chili powder because I like a Mexican chocolate, so maybe some cardamom. So and then I also just want to encourage you to explore. People say, "Oh, I've heard this often. I have a hard time eating live foods because it's difficult to digest," which I just kind, I'm always a little wary of that. What is it that we ate that created live foods to be difficult? But they're more, there's fire in them, so they're going to create more heat and they're going to be digestive and they're going to move out the stuff that's stuck in your system. And if you find eating a salad or eating, everyone's going to have a difficult time eating raw broccoli. There are raw foods that need to be marinated and blended and made easier to digest. So if you're having a difficult with any, like chomping on a raw carrot is going to be different than taking your carrots, putting some water and maybe a little miso, some salt, some olive oil, and blending it and making like a carrot soup. That's what babies eat. They eat a lot of blended food. So experiment with blending your foods. You want to lose 10 pounds really quickly, spend a week or even 5 pounds. I'll be a little more slow about it. You can just blend the live foods that you're eating. You already know you're getting enough protein. Use almonds, use sprouts, use avocado, use salts, use whatever herbs. Herbs are one of the best ways to get essential oils as well. They're good for your immune system and your blood. So add a lot of herbs. I eat a lot of herbs. Blend those things and find that perfect formula that's like yum, and to try it different every day. Tomatoes are really good blended to make an easy tomato soup. So just experiment with the blender. I can't believe how many plugs I'm giving to David today, but I guess the NutriBullet is something that everyone has that he just carries around. Even squashing up avocados can be a really good thing to digest. So that's it on blended foods. But it's amazing. When you do blended foods, you find such an ability to meditate because you're letting go of all the agitation and the acids and of course live blended foods, and you're just like, I feel like I can levitate when I eat all blended foods.
I have a NutriBullet. I love it. It's great just for a single serve, and it's quick. And I think for many people, they want something fast and they want something healthy. That's the best form of convenient food. So
Yes.
perhaps the last topic that we can cover before we close is talking about beauty. You're a model, you're beautiful, you talked about beauty and nature. And I think that for people in general, perhaps especially women, there are so many toxic thoughts about their own sense of beauty. And so many times they're thinking about their skin. I know that you mentioned the skin a number of times. And when I think about the skin, I think about food, and I also think about all the things that we put on our skin. So the personal care products, whether it's makeup or lotion, creams, all the stuff that we put in our hair. So with you being a model and really being in tune with, your physical appearance, what can you offer the listeners as it relates to internal thoughts about their own beauty and then the external agents that we put on ourselves to help us to be more beautiful, if you will, or to help us with our sense of beauty?
Yeah, well, I think we spent most of the interview covering what you can do from the inside, but that's key, key, key. No lotion or beauty product is going to do it if you're toxic from the inside. So cleansing out what's erupting on your skin is the first and foremost. But then we do absorb the things that we soak in or the things we put on our skin. I find my favorite beauty discipline is taking a bath, a hot bath. That's something everyone can do, and you always want to go in a bath clean and add essential oils. I'm loving the doTERRA brand. I don't get paid from them or any of the companies I talked about, by the way. And adding some oils that you can actually absorb. For instance, the citrus oils, the slim down and those things help circulation and just the skin detox faster. And it's really important why your body is hydrated, to add the lotions on your face using things that don't have like PBAs or dyes or synthetic fragrances, because you are going to absorb that in your skin. I love to use coconut oil or body butters on my skin and give it a little bit of a massage. Sometimes we don't want to connect what's below our head, but connecting with our whole body, this is like our vehicle. It's like cleaning the hood of a car and not cleaning what's in the engine. Like, we have to keep cleaning ourselves, and it's a daily thing, just like your house, just like the bathroom. You want to keep your whole body clean. So that's like my favorite beauty disciplines that is almost daily. And then, think about making yourself beauty as more of an art form rather than conditioning your hair for 2 minutes when you're in a rush while you shave. Occasionally leave conditioner or like a good olive oil, or you can use coconut oil in your hair overnight. Just kind of take care of your system. I put a mask on, a moisturizing mask overnight that rubs in often. I do clay mask when I'm feeling like I want to pull a lot. The skin in Chinese medicine, the face is where a lot of the acupuncture points meet, is in the face. So we wonder why we have so much tension in our face. So I'll like draw out that tension through masks or through self massage on my face. I use a crystal to massage my face sometimes, or I get facials, steam. I mean, there's a bunch of beauty disciplines. Yes, I talk a lot about it in my book. My favorite makeup line is a dear friend of mine. She's my ex-roommate, Josie Marin Cosmetics. There might be some things, it's environmentally packaged, and it looks really beautiful. So when I use it, I feel like I'm worth it. I'm worth it, and it's really good makeup. So do be conscious. But it's a lot of my actors and model friends. We say like, they play with from the inside to the outside. And I used to, not ever blow out my hair and wear no makeup. And at this point, maybe it's because I'm not 17 anymore, but like I enjoy just feeling my best. And in finality, something you don't need to do anything for is focus on what you do love about yourself. If you love your eyes, if you love your mouth, if you love your legs, just think, I love my legs, and really be careful with your thoughts, because when you look in the mirror and you think, I don't love the way I look, that thought is more deforming than any amount of beauty products that you could use. And my teacher says, if you want to know your past, look at your face. If you want to know your future, look at your thoughts. And one little trick I'll leave you with this is, I actually will go out into the world when I'm connecting with people, and I think of the value of my being, like my fingers, my arms, my elbows. I wouldn't sell those for $1 million. My shoulders, my organs. I'm literally, and I know all of you are worth billions of dollars. When we really value ourselves, we're not going to sell that. So I think, okay, I might not have $1 billion in the bank yet, but I could slowly liquidate by using the magic of my voice to express myself. It doesn't need to be so material, but know your worth, and really have those thoughts, and take that into the world, and think of yourself as a shining light. And when you're self judging, instead radiate interest, be interested in the world, and give back, like give a smile to someone else as a gift, and allow them to smile. So I think of myself as a sun, not only worth $1 billion, but like radiating vibration and light, and just being grateful and compassionate for my fellow humanity. And therefore we get to live and exist in a world of superstars that we all are. So that's what we're all going to do.
What a great message. I love that idea of being a sun. Rainbow, you have gifted us with so many rainbowed ideas and feelings and tidbits, things that we can really take through our day. And I thank you so much for being a part of this. Can you tell the listeners how they can reach you? What is your website? How would you want them to connect with you?
Oh, thank you. Well, the book that I wrote is like a baby. So, and if I don't share it, it's like not sharing what I just gave birth to. So 21 Day Superstar Cleanse is the landing page for that. And where you can buy or kind of see the commerce or get informed about this lifestyle is Rainbeau Mars Lifestyles. Hopefully you guys know how to spell my name. And then for more of a personal page, and we're working on productions and stuff, something that inspires me to serve stories that inspire, transform, and heal. That's more rainbowmars.com. And we have a company. I got it. It's so weird that it's my name, and some people think I'm a little, I'm sure, self-involved because of my name, and I didn't ask for my name. But rainbow is the bridge between earth and heaven, just kind of in the metaphorical sense. I try to embody that as much as possible, and I've just we've kept the companies with my names, but it's not about me at all. I'm here to serve and be as much about you as possible. And I'd love to. I look forward to seeing a world of us connecting to ourselves one home at a time, creating a yogic lifestyle from the inside out, and then using that to bring into whatever we love to do, our passions and our work. So stay connected. Of course, you find all the social media things out there. Thank you.
Thank you, Rainbow. Thanks for being that shining light to all of us and really bringing forth that message of service too, which is so important. So thanks again. Big hug to you. Appreciate it.
Thank you. You too. Bye. Namaste.